am back in Napa Valley, and I'm here at 7 Apart, which is a winery I've been curious about for a very long time. And I'm really happy to be here with winemaker Maureze. Morgan, how are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm excellent. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me come by.
No, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's really an incredible site. This is right off of Silverado Trail, right by Soda Canyon Road, for those folks who know Napa. And a space, I will have to go into this for a moment, that for me goes back in my personal history here when Vander Hayden Winery was here, which was, how politely can I use the word, dump?
I wouldn't say dump. I would just say it was of its time. It was an early Napa winery, so yeah.
Very early.
Yeah.
Right. And to see this come to life in such a beautiful winery.
It's very peaceful when you set foot here. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's very luxurious, but kind of like spa-like feeling with the beautiful water fountains and the water features, and it's just very well designed.
Yeah.
So it's I love just coming here. It's just blood pressure drops.
I want to cover the name first, 7 Apart. I'm very curious where that came from.
So 7 Apart comes from different, there's two kind of key things that came up with the name. So the owner, Don Daddy, when he decided to come up with the name, he had a business professor that said, give me a business concept that has 7 different things that sets you apart from different competitions. And then there's also kind of a fun one, kind of the main one, is it's 7 miles between the two properties, between the Atlas Peak property and the base camp vineyard. So it's 7 miles apart.
How many acres do you have here on the property?
So on here it is 8 acres, and then there's another 8 additional acres up on Atlas Peak.
You told me you were born in France. What part of France?
So I was born in Libourne, so the right bank near Saint-Emilion. So that was my hometown. So still to this day, Saint-Emilion's one of my holds a special place in my heart. So.
How long did you live there?
So I immigrated to the United States when I was 3 years old, so came here as a little child. My dad wanted to be a cowboy, so he moved to Arkansas for a little bit where he had cattle, soybeans, and cotton, and then decided to go back into the wine industry and moved to Napa Valley, I think, in '85.
He wanted to be a cowboy.
Yeah, right. Why not? Try on those good old cowboy boots.
Yeah.
And see. So when we moved here in the valley, I was 4 years old, almost 5.
Because it's in your blood, I think, because of where you were born. I don't know if it's, to ask you what made you want to become a winemaker.
It's kind of, so a 5th generation on my father's side, 3rd on my mother. My mother's from the Loire-Muscadet region, so very different style. And how I love how my parents raised us is there was no pressure to be in the wine industry. We were 4 boys, 2 out of the 4 kind of went in the wine industry, and the other 2 didn't. So, and I kind of knew what I wanted to do at an early age. I think I was 15 or 16 when I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I think it's always, what drew to me to that is just a dinner table and all the kind of like the friends my parents would have over for dinner, and always wine and the conversations talking about vineyards and wineries and designs and winemaking and concepts, and that is always very appealing to me. So at a very young age, I said, that's it. So I was actually been able to gear even my high school academics towards it. So, take, all the chemistry, organic chemistry, all that fun stuff to go that direction. And then went to UC Davis for viticulture enology, and then graduated from then. And once I did that, then I decided to get my master's program at University of Bordeaux in France. So just kind of wanted to prove to my dad that I'm educated, I can do it.
Yeah.
Once I checked all those boxes, then it was kind of go in the career. And it was just kind of a sad part of I would say that the family business, right? So I was graduating University of Bordeaux in '06, and then the families just kind of had a fallout, and everything got sold just as I was starting to graduate University of Bordeaux. So I was like, so you know what? So rather than helping the family business, I'll come back to California as well. That and just the land of opportunities are so much better here.
You and I were talking before about how much has changed, and from the period of time I've been coming up here just around 24, 25 years, Napa was a completely different, the city of Napa.
It was very different. I mean, there was not much to do for young kids. There was nothing. I mean, we got in trouble, rode our bikes and played in the creeks and played with BB guns and stuff like that. What kids do,
Sure. How many vintages do you have at this point under your belt, if you don't mind my asking?
I would say legally, right? Legally, as child labor counts. Since I started legally working at 16, so 16, I'm 43. But I would say stuff where I was in part of control or part of the actual and got to see it to finish. It was started in '07. So started in '07. 12, 13. Little background. So when I graduated UC Davis, I took kind of like a stint off, took a year off, and so worked at Cloapalta in Chile, and then went to the Petrus house with Jean-Pierre Moueix. So I got to work at all those great wineries that they have. Then worked at Aubryon while I was at University of Bordeaux, and then did my master's thesis at Domaine de la Romanée-Conti in Burgundy. And then Andy Erickson kind of plucked me right out of college to work for him. So in '07, him and I met. I was interning with him up at Ovid in '07, and then he took me as his right-hand man after that. So in '08, started working for him kind of at Delaval, Screaming Eagle, Dancing Hares, Arietta Wines. Was there the transition for my Iconis as well. And then one of our clients, Maurice Marciano, created Marciano Estate as well. And then Maurice politely stole me from Andy after a couple of years working there. And so he had built a beautiful winery. And so I was there. I was the director of the estate and head winemaker there for a long time. And Andy was still on board. And then Maurice tragically had a cycling accident where things were very different from there. And so just started my own consulting company, kind of mimicking kind of Andy. Was a great mentor for me. And so that's that. And so Seven Apart's one of my first clients.
It's just what a storied career, both in France and here in the States.
Yeah.
To be around these influences, it really is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's when you work at places like that, sometimes, just most people would be amazed to work at just one of those places in their career. But for me, I just look at them as parts of the puzzle when you work at so many different places. Each site is so unique. Each have their own different tools and equipment. Not every winery is the same. So again, I love solving problems. So for me, I kind of look at how to solve problems and how to make great wine doing that, and understanding the sites and carving out picks within the parcels and sub-parcels. I love that. That's just kind of, how to let that site speak to you is very important. Sure. in making great wines. It's when I was in Burgundy there, it was some of the fundamentally simplest winemaking I'd ever seen, but if you think about it, they've been farming that parcel since the 1400s. I'm not there to teach them anything,
Sure.
So I was just there as an observer and do some experiments for them. So yeah.
Sitting in front of me are some wonderful bottles, and we should probably find out a little bit about what's inside of these bottles.
Yes. So Seven Apart, it's kind of some fun different wine. So they've got a wine we call the Expedition, which I love making. So Andy Erickson was the founding winemaker here, and so when he left, it was very logical that I took over since I worked with him for so long. And that wine is so unique, where it's a beautiful blend of Atlas Peak fruit and Base Camp fruit. So I love blending those wines because it's a blank slate, and so it's kind of, you get to play around with it. The Stag's Ridge property, those are all vineyard designated wines, and so it's kind of fun. And those are kind of our flagship wines. So our flagship wine is called Summit, and then we have another wine called Shale and Basalt, named after the types of soil types that are there. And so it's just kind of funny when you're harvesting those and tasting the fruit, and you really see there's sometimes almost like a week and a half to 2 weeks difference within this 8 acres, of cab. Same thing. And so why? Soil, slope, things like that. And so it's kind of fun when you're making these great wines, and you can focus on that soil. So when you make wines from those soils, it's amazing. I love looking at historical blends, and you just look at it. Again, like I said, I love to solve problems, so I got my Excel sheets and all that stuff. and it's very consistently the same. It's, I break it down, it's all by soil type. So those blends are by soil types ultimately, which is, it sounds so cliche, but I love it when science proves it.
For the tasting we're here, can people just come visit? I'm guessing this is by appointment.
Yes, it is by appointment only, and so you would call ahead, and then they would try and kind of squeeze you in upon availability, obviously. And then when you come here, if I'm here, I'll make an effort to say hi, because if you take the time to come here, it's only a respect that I give and say hi to you.
That's a nice thing to do. And most importantly, for our listeners who'd like to learn about you online, what is your website?
The website, it is 7apart.com.
Not too hard.
No, right, exactly.
Appreciate you taking the time to meet with me on a Sunday.
No, thank you for coming.